All right, so let's get going. So this is the second one in this series on the using the advanced copy trader. Don't know if any of you had a look last night. We actually launched the new platform, which I think is really good. It's addressed a number of concerns that people had, and I think it's a lot easier to use, and should allow for a lot more trading going forward. Right, so we're going to go through advanced strategies for copy trader, high risk and reward. This is, I received a bit of feedback after the last one, and I see a number of names that have repeated. Is people have been going to me, look, I've put some money in to copy some of these traders, but why are my returns so low? It's depending, obviously, and we'll run through it on the amount that they're trading, the exposure, and the risk that they're taking. If you starting off and are allocating, a few $100s for somebody to copy and they're only doing 1%, as exposure per trade, then you're going to be getting obviously smaller losses, but as well smaller gains, in reference to your whole account. So what we're going to try and do tonight is run through a few strategies whereby we can search and find some people, firstly, that are going to trade more, and even if you're getting smaller exposure, the fact that the account continually turns over and compounds means you can still get some good results. All right, so just before we get started, just a disclaimer, this is just general advice. Please don't mistake this for personal advice. If you do have anything, please go and consult your financial advisor or accountant. So I just got through that. All right, so we're going to run through tonight, it's just a bit of an overview. We're going to go through a revision of the basic and advanced Guru Finder. So for all of you that weren't here last time, we're just going to quickly run through that. If anyone does want a copy of last month's webinar or any of the others, please let me know afterwards. Also say we're going to record this one. So there will be a recording out in the next week or so. Right, so after that, we're going to go through some higher trade frequency and volume traders. Then we're going to run through a higher risk strategy. And then we're going to finish off by comparing that to a longer term growth strategy. So potentially, for some of you that obviously want to get some gains faster, you can also, compare that to potentially somebody who's not as high risk, and then that kind of will balance out your portfolio. Okay, so just the revision of previous webinar. Right, so using the low, medium or high risk settings. So this is when you go into the rankings, and this was the Advanced Guru Finder that was launched a couple months ago, which has just allowed some more specific search criteria and different results that you're getting out. Okay, so we looked last time at what all the parameters were and what made up being a low, medium or high risk trader. Okay, and changing them around, you see the different outputs that we'll get and the different results you'll get of the different traders. Okay, we also had a look at some of the 4 other default searches that are on the platform and how they change the risk parameters to get an output for the search. In this case, for example, we looked at low risk, high gains. So people are taking that a lower risk and then are trying to, obviously get higher gains. These here, what we can see on the screen now, those are the 3 default search criteria. So you've got low, medium, and high. So you can see there's a few things that are different, and those are the parameters that we change in order to get a different output based on our risk averseness. Okay, so low risk default, low risk high gains, just what we were running here. As you may recall in this example, the only difference, the change between, say, a low risk default change and a low risk high gain search is the winning weeks. So you can actually see here, the winning weeks, we want, for a low risk, we want 70% of a winning week, whereas when we want low risk high gains, what we want is we're not really concerned too much if a couple of weeks aren't good, just as long as the overall gain is potential. So you can see here a few small things that we changed around, and we did run through quite a lot of this last time. So that's just a quick run through what we did last time. Now we're going to get on to higher volume traders. So we'll now deal with some different time periods. Okay, so we're going to go and look at a high frequent trader search. This is one of the 4 most popular searches on the platform there. And the aim is to find people trading more often to increase turnover of your account. So as I was mentioning before, if you've, say, copied somebody with between $100 and $1,000 and they're only doing, say, 1 to 2% risk per trade, maybe they're making 5 or 10% on each trade, or maybe more. You don't know. But the point is, if they're only doing 5 or 10 trades a month, then you're not really going to be getting the results that you want. Then, you know, your account might not go down, but it's certainly not going to go up nearly as much as opposed to somebody you're looking for that's taking higher risks and might do less trades but will get a greater return. So what we're going to look for here is searching for people. So you can still keep them as low risk, but we want them to have, here we're going to be looking for more than 100 trades. Because when you go through, if somebody's doing 1 to 2% of their account but continually turns it over, you can still get extremely good returns following that person. And what it means being low risk still is if one particular or 2 or 3 or 4 trades go against you, because let's be honest, you can't be 100% correct all the time, what will happen is those couple of trades, yes, you'll take a loss, but the sheer number of trades that you're going through and hopefully the winning percentage is high, we're going to be able to find traders that are going to give us a better return. All right? So you can do this search either by clicking on the popular search items on the open book or go into the advanced section and amend the parameter for minimum number of trades and take that up to 100. So this can be done either on a low, medium, or high risk. But as I've stated before, you know, our official line here is we want you to preserve your capital. So we're always going to be showing things with a low risk tendency. You know, if you want to go up and have a look and try and find some higher risk traders, which is going back here, so we're looking in this parameter here on the right, higher risk, you would simply take that minimum number of trades, take that up to 100, and then you'd have a look. We're going to be having a look on a low risk, primarily just because of the reasons I mentioned before. So again, the idea of this search is to find people that are consistently trading and turning over their account. The more they trade, the more you stand to gain, provided, of course, that they have a decent win-loss percentage. Right, so the first thing comes about what time period do I want to have a look at. Okay, so we're going to start off by having a look at a 1-month search. So obviously on these you can search for a week, a month, 3 months, 6 months, or 1 year. So you have a look. In the last month, you know, we're going to be having a look at people that are trading quite substantially. Now, on the left there, you can see the trade parameter that we put in, and this was done a few weeks ago, so you'll probably get a slightly different output with the results, but, you know, the theory at the end of the day is the same. All right? So a trader has done that, you know, traders that have done this many trades in 1 month, again, need to look at with some caution when we go in, because you can see here they tend to have less copiers. So that's not saying don't copy them. They might be new on the platform coming through, and they might not have built up the following or the statistics where a lot of people have jumped on. But, you know, then again, if you see that they have traded a lot and have traded successfully, then there should be no reason why you can't copy them. You know, you might be the first onto a good trader, and then everybody else will follow you. Doesn't always need to be the other way around. Okay? When we're doing these sorts of searches, I know I've said in the past that it's, you know, we want to look at percentage gain, but when we're looking, it is still a parameter. But I think in this case, what we want to be having a look at even more, that I'm more interested in, is the win-loss ratio. For the point being, again, you know, you look at both together, but at the same time you can, by clicking on win ratio or gain at the top, you can sort by either the win ratio or the gain. So when you're doing with this many trades, what you want to see is a high win-loss ratio. Mainly because, think of it this way, if you came in, okay, and you've seen it's been a good result, somebody's trading a lot, but they have a low win-loss ratio, you have to go in and investigate where the gains came from. It might have come from a few really good trades and then a lot of trades that have turned negative. So again, we're going to run through afterwards. Again, we're going to go through investigating somebody's profile. But when we're looking at this, I want to see a higher win-to-loss ratio, primarily because so many trades are being done, and I want to see a consistent gain. Of course, you want to see a gain that's positive, but I'm not nearly as concerned with the overall percentage gain in this case as I am with a win-to-loss ratio. I would like to say 80% and above as a general outline, and a decent amount of trades done and profits gained. Okay, now I've actually done it here on the next slide. So if we go back and through, this was done on the same. So we have a look here. Gain 1164%, looks fantastic. We would go in, and you would go in for all of these people and actually investigate and have a look at their profile and the trading statistics to see what's done. But if you just simply then amend by to win-to-loss ratio, we then have a look. Okay, so it changes around. And actually, if you're going back between the two, none of the ones that show up in the gain show up on the win-to-loss ratio. So again, as I was saying before, if you come in and you suddenly start copying someone today, for example, and say you were having a look at the top trader there with a win-to-loss ratio 98.4%. So you're having a look and you come in without even investigating the rest of it. You come in and you say, okay, here in 98 trades out of 100, call it, this person's been profitable. So what that's telling you is you're not going to start copying this person and then all of a sudden they make a few bad trades and your account gets off to a loss and you become discouraged and you might stop copying that person. So obviously none of this is guaranteed, but it's something to look for, and so you can try and amend the results to do what we're searching for. And remember, we're searching for high volume traders here. All right, so we're going to run through now analyzing a profile. Again, I've spoken about this in previous webinars, but I always think it's good to have a refresh about what we're looking for. Okay, so specifically in this case, we are looking for a high volume trader who is making consistent gains and is also profitable. Doesn't mean that the person has to be making hundreds of percent, by no means. As far as I'm concerned, anything above 20% gain is good going. So again, I'm sure a lot of you that have been on the platform for a while know this, but for those of you that are coming into currency trading, you understand that this is obviously a highly volatile product. And when you're dealing with high leverage as well, okay, there's obviously propensity for high gains, but also a propensity for higher losses. So if you were to compare this to shares, for example, okay, if you make 10 to 20% on a share trade, you're doing particularly well. It doesn't have to be as great on a currency. That could be looked at a lower amount. But again, it's always good to keep this in the back of your mind as a comparison. Because if you have $5,000, you are deciding whether you're going to put it in shares, you're going to put it in the bank, you're going to put it into currency trading. So it's always good, as far as I'm concerned, just to keep a bit of perspective, because you can tend to get carried away, and we all do, with the amount of gains that you see. People up 1,600% on the platform. I mean, it's fantastic going. If you can find them and they do it consistently, by all means. But it's always just good to keep a bit of perspective when you're looking at all of this. Okay, so we've picked up this profile now, Adam Lucky. Have a look over 1 month. Look, the equity graph isn't bad. It's not perfect, but look, it's going in a reasonable direction. 40% in 1 month is fantastic going. And you see it's fairly stable over the last sort of 12 months. So, I mean, ignore probably, it only looks like he's been on the platform for just under 6 months in this case. But, fairly steady gains. And again, we have a look in the top right, low risk. Okay, so 100% low risk trades. So, keeping with our theme of trying to find traders that are going to do this for you at a lower risk. As I mentioned before, you can go search higher, but this is not a bad profile to have a look at. So one feature I do like to have a look at is their trade history in the copy trader view. Okay, in this case, we see here that he's only traded himself. But what you can do is you'll see there's a flat view and a copy trader view. The flat view will just list all the trades, and the copy trader view will list the trades for each person that has been copied. Okay, you can amalgamate each one of the trades by clicking here in the middle in the white space between the person's name and the percentage gain, and that'll bring up and it'll give you a percentage gain. It's only looking, I must say, at the last 100 trades. So in this case, for high volume traders, somebody could turn over their account in 4 days, in which case the statistics that you're looking at here are only going to be a representation of the last 4 days. For some people doing lots of trades, for others doing less, it won't be, it'll give you more of an idea because it might be stretched out over the last month. But here we are again, and you can see here that we've got all the breakdown. And this trader, for example, here, Adam Lucky, he turned this trade over in 17 days. He did 100 trades. So a 2.51% gain in 17 days on the last 100 trades is good going. It might not sound like a lot, but if you put that out, that only took 2.5 weeks. If you put that out over a year, then you're turning into some good gains. And again, for people that do a lot of trades, we go back to the statistics, and there you get an idea of the overall amount of the account and the percentage gain. So we're looking at both together. The other point I wanted to bring up, and what you'll tend to find with the gurus, is they generally tend to trade themselves and don't have too many other people copying. But what you will find, and I know I've mentioned this before, is that a lot of people will tend to copy, say, between 5 and 10 people. So when you're looking on here, you want to look at the people they're copying. So when you go through and you're looking at a couple of traders, you don't really want to be overexposed to the same trader twice, unless you like the trader and you're happy to be exposed twice to the same trade. It's a copy of a copy, if you like. So if I, for example, decided to copy Adam Lucky and all of you decided to copy me, every time he did a trade, I'd do a trade. So if you decided as well to go copy Adam Lucky, you'd be exposed to him twice. So it's something you want to look at whilst going through. Okay, so analyzing the profile as well. This comes up in the portfolio section. So this particularly for me is a very, very good trade and a good statistic, because here we can see number of trades done. I'll just reiterate that actually isn't for this trader, it's for somebody else, but what you can see here is the amount of trades done. Now this changes depending on the time period. So in the portfolio, you can make this either a week, a month, 3 months, or 6 months. And sometimes it's a statistic I find that can be overlooked, because when you go in and investigate these traders, you're only looking in percentages. What you get by going here is you just get a number. And it's a good idea just to have a general number in your head. If you go through and look at a trader for the last month and you see, right, 117 trades were done. Fantastic. 98.3% of them resulted in profit. That's even better. You get an idea, fine. Half the time buy and sell. Average trade hold time 14 hours. So quite a day trader. Obviously doing this many trades, you tend to think they'd be in a shorter time frame. But what it does is give you an idea. And then you can go back to the history, for example here, and go back to the flat view and have a look at the trades and just have a look at the general percentage that's being done through. And it's tough to gauge the exposure sometimes. You can search for it on the rankings, but what I like to do is to go through and test these guys in the practice account. So what it's there for. So you can test the trader out maybe for, say, a week, for example, before you put him in. And you'll get an idea pretty quickly of the general exposure that's done. Okay? So as a rough example, you can go through and go, okay, 117 trades were done. Say, for example, that trader 2% of his account, 1% of his account, call it, is exposed on each trade with an average, say, gain on the trade of maybe 5 to 10%. You can then calculate for yourself what you would earn if you, say, copied him with $1,000. So what it can do, it's a rough calculation, and by no means will it occur because the performance would have to be repeated. But what it does is give you a general idea of what you can expect from copying this particular trader. So you can set your targets based on that. If you work out a general rough calculation and say you thought these trades made an average 5%, so you thought, you know, maybe the account would make 50% in a month. I mean, that's a lot, but you can then set yourself a profit target, and then you come back in 1 month and you see where the account is. And you can see and judge by how many trades have been done and the general percentage gain on each trade. So what it's doing is giving you more information to work out for yourself. Now, this goes back to a lot of you traders that have been telling me, again, as I mentioned before, that you're putting money on them and, you know, nothing, you come back in a week and they've made you $2. How many of you in the room now have had that happen to you? Just raise your hands, because it happens, does happen a fair bit. Yeah, so a few of you, yeah. So look, this is one particular technique that you can look to do, you know, just to give you a general idea and to work through, because we all want, obviously we all want gains. I mean, that's just logical, but it's how we get there. The risk we take is, you know, something that can change around. So, right, so now we're going to move on to a 3-month search. Okay, so now we're going to be looking for a minimum of 100 trades in 3 months. So it comes down, it's a little less hands-on, okay, because someone might only do 30 to 40, and you know, they might have a good result, but what we're looking for really is, you know, higher volume, and that's what we're running through now. So on this readout, we can see the more popular traders as per the number of copiers. So a lot of these people are the ones you'd recognize as, you know, the ones that have the most amount of copiers. So you actually see, this was from a while ago, but that Mal Solo, you know, that showed up here, that was doing a lot of trading, is now up about 1,600% and has 2,500 copies. So if you'd picked him up here, and this was maybe a month ago, you know, that was at 1,000% gain, you would have made another 500% on him. So again, as I said, just because, you know, he only had 59 copiers at that point, you know, just because somebody doesn't have a lot of copiers doesn't mean that they automatically aren't good. You know, it's something you need to research. Okay, I'm not really sure that the search parameter beyond the 3-month time frame is particularly relevant, mainly because after 6 months you'd hope somebody you're copying has done at least 100 trades. So again, if you're doing that and you do decide to have a look at that, go back into the portfolio function and you can look at each trader and see, right, in the last 6 months this person's done X amount of trades. All right, so here we go, and this again, this was by win-loss ratio. So before we saw the gain percentage, and now here we have the win-loss ratio. And those are the more, you know, popular traders there that have higher win-to-loss ratios, and as you can see, good gains. Not the highest by there, but they are turning the account over, which is a good thing, because unless you're going to sit on one of these people, remember this is 3 months, so unless you're going to sit on the person for 3 months, which you might do, if you're coming in and start copying them, you know, for all of you new traders, well, you want to start seeing some returns, I'd assume. So again, we are looking for higher volume and higher frequency traders. Right, we're now going to have a look at a higher risk strategy. I've received, again, as I was saying, a lot of feedback after the last webinar asking how you can get greater exposure. Okay, so one way is obviously to find people that are trading more. Again, that's not as much exposure, but again, that's turning the account over, so you get the same effect. Okay, but we're going to now have a look at doing a search for people that have higher gains, but again, they have higher risk. Again, I'll just preface this by saying For all of you that are new, we recommend you stick with the low risk. This is more, again, for people that have been doing this for a while, are quite confident in their understanding of leverage and their understanding of risk management, to have a look at some of these traders. Because getting into some of these guys, obviously we want to see good results, otherwise we wouldn't copy them. But at the same time, past results mean nothing at the end of the day. Somebody could go in and expose their trade to 50% of the account and the amount that you've chosen to copy them, and that trade could go against you in a second, in a period of time. All of you have seen over the last, in this last week, for instance, the euro has gone up and down like a yo-yo, so has the Aussie. The cable tonight had a rally, so has the US yen. If one particular trade had gone against you, euro pound as well, it's now at 2012 lows. So what I mean, and all I'm saying with this, is that the trades that you're looking at, you want to be well aware of who these people are when you get into bed with them, basically. Right. So having a look, this is the high risk parameter. Again, this will give it to you. So we're looking for a gain of at least 50. All right. So that's going to weed out a lot of the lower ones. And again, we want to see, minimum trades 50. Because, again, as we're going, it's all very well to have a gain, but if they don't trade, it doesn't really help you when you start copying them. Okay, so we've amended in this way, we can see what the overall gains have been over a period of time to show that it wasn't a fluke, that they've made these gains and have done at least a certain amount of trades to get that level, which is, what we were saying. So I've had a look at their percentage gain, because what I want to see now, apart from the win-loss, I want to see their overall performance. Okay, so when you look through, and we're just going to have a look at some of the equity graphs. Again, as we go through, you do want to see an equity graph that generally is going in the right direction. Something like having a look here. What don't I like? Something there, you look at K Wards A8 with one follower, 682.9%. It's about 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 down. Now, that went up, and then you see that green dot down. And look at that. That's not exactly what you want to see. Wealth BW looks better because it's an equity graph that's going conservatively up with not too many down swings. All right? So this here, again, gives you a readout, and you can toggle around with these settings, but what you want to look at here is, again, go in and have a look at, again, what we were discussing before, their trade history, who they're copying. All of these are just results at the end of the day. It's a readout of people who are on the platform, and there's 2 million of them, so there's plenty to choose from. What you need to do then is go in and investigate them. Okay? So now we're just going to compare this a little bit to longer term portfolio growth. So we've had a look very quickly at higher volume, how to gain greater exposure to traders. So sometimes it's a way of diversifying the risk. You might have a certain amount allocated in your portfolio for growth, and then you want to have a look at some traders that, over a period of time, say a year, have, done a bit better and less risk and going up in a slow wave. So what we've done, again, low risk, taken the winning weeks down to 0 because, again, some of these longer term trades, and this might be the term, whether it's the duration of the trade is 1. So these people might be taking longer term views of particular things. Say, for example, someone, and there have been a few quite recently, of people taking longer term views on the Aussie, thinking it's going to come down, and shorted it. Some shorted it at 108 and are still happy to hold it. And, sitting on quite good gains. That's something as a longer term view rather than looking as an intraday trade, for example. So we've seen there the readout, but you know, it's generally think these people are having a look at the underlying trend and they think they know where it's going. I think it's an important thing to try and judge with these traders. It can be difficult if they genuinely do have a longer term view, or they have just let the trade get away from them and they're just stubbornly holding on for when it turns around. Now, I know there'd be a few of us out there who do that sometimes. Raise your hands. I always like to do this. Raise your hands if you've done that. The trade's gone against you and you just stubbornly hold on until it comes back in your direction. Yeah, quite a few. We've all done it. You know, logic dictates that we shouldn't, but you know, sometimes it will turn around. And it's been an interesting thing recently. Depends on your view, but you know, if you look over the last, say, month with the volatility there, I guess it becomes into a definition of what you define as a long-term trade. But if you'd, say, gone long euro, you know, a couple of weeks ago, depending on the movement, whether you went long or short, you would have ended up coming out even or up on the trade. So, you know, it can be tough sometimes to actually judge whether these people are trading as an actual long-term trade or are just holding on. So, you know, a few ways around it you can try and have a look is to pick up some general trends. So like I mentioned before, if you go in and look at some of these traders and see that they're all short Aussie, you know, you can get a pretty good idea that they obviously think the Aussie's coming down. Or say long euro, they think the euro's going up as a long-term thing, and you can see when the trade was done. So they might have done those trades a month, 2 months ago, you know, having a look. So what this can do is, you know, I guess it's only going to be worth it for you if they've at least done a few trades. But if you copy someone and they've got an underlying position and they make money, you know, it can be a bit of a hedge against some of your other traders that are moving around. All right, so comes to the end of this for this time. Next webinar, we'll run through a few more strategies with the Guru Finder. And again, I would love to get your feedback. If possible, please email me or when I speak to you, because it's great to get your feedback as to what you're interested in. Because at the end of the day, that's why we're here. We want to go on to topics that you find interesting. So please do. And now I'll just open it up for any questions. Okay, anyone have any questions? Yep, one is come through on technical analysis. We can go through one of those for next time. How many of you, while we're here, use technical analysis pretty much as your main indicator? Fair few. How many of you would like to know more about it? Yeah, okay. We definitely can go through. Saying how do you get details of the people you're copying their trades? You need to go to their history, and as I was showing before, you can go through and actually have a look at the trades that were done. One of the good things with the new platform, and I must say this, it was changed on the open book, but now with the new platform, everything is in net profit, so we no longer have gross profit. So you're actually getting an accurate view. So ignore spread. So now what you're seeing is net profit, so you can wipe spread off it, and it'll give you a more accurate view of actually what's going on. All right, any others? Yeah, I can try and arrange a webinar about the daily signals. Okay. Yeah, the webinar's been recorded, and yeah, we'll be getting a recording out for everyone. Should come out within a week or so. It says, where on the screen do you find the people that you follow? You would find this in your the open book. Go into your profile, and it'll say following and being followed. So you can go in and click follow. I'll just go through quickly. The difference between a follower and a copier is following someone will show up in your watch list of trades. Okay. All right. Okay. Well, I think we'll leave it there for tonight. I'd like to thank everyone for coming along, and we will see you on Open Book. Any questions anyone has, please feel free to email or call.